Tempest Cleric needing a fix? Yeah, I know what you're thinking, and I agree. It doesn't really need a fix. The only thing I want to go over in this video is a couple of things I would swap on the domain spells, and if you're curious what that's about, stay tuned. Alright, so here we are on D&D Beyond. You can see the Tempest Cleric spells here. I don't think you need to adjust any of these later abilities. I think they all work very, very well. That's one of the strongest clerics in my opinion. So one of the things that I think the Tempest Cleric suffers from, and not really suffers as a poor word choice, but it was released in the player's handbook. And the very next book we got was the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which was then updated with all the spells in Xanthar's Guide to Everything. And one of the things around that was, it was a ton of elemental-based spells. And the Tempest Cleric is very clearly a thunder and lightning theme. Now, yes, right up here it does say gods of thunder and lightning, gods of earthquakes, some fire gods, certain gods of violence, of strength, violence, physical strength, and courage. But if we look at who we have Talos, Umberlee. These are kind of sea gods of destruction. We have Zeus. We have Thor. I mean, we have gods of thunder and lightning. They even go on to rule over their deities with swift justice by thunderbolts. Some are doing ocean deities, destroying sailors. So there's clearly a theme here. And if we look at most of the spells, you see that theme, right? Fog Cloud kind of just fits. I don't mind having non-damaging spells in here. Thunder Wave is thunder damage. Gust of Wind, kind of keeping with that sea, tornado-y tempest theme. Shatter, thunder damage. We've got Call Lightning, which is calling down a lightning bolt, which is lightning damage. I personally would rather have this been lightning bolt instead of Call Lightning, but that's fine. I'll let that go. And then Sleet Storm felt a little bit out of place to me. Makes a center of just ice. And I feel like we haven't really had much of an ice theme, really. We've had thunder, lightning, wind, and then we get ice. So were I to replace this, because we are now in Xanthar's world here, I would choose for the 3rd level spell, you could choose one of two, because I would say either Thunder Step, which is a teleportation spell that deals thunder damage, and it makes noise similar to a Thunder Wave spell. So I personally, if it was me and I had control of it and I was playing, I'd want Thunderstep, because as a cleric, you don't have a lot of options for teleportation and movement. So Thunderstep, I think, fits. But I would also argue either Tidal Wave, because again, we already talked about over Sleet Storm, the idea of you being kind of in control of water and sort of shipwrecks and stuff like that. So a Tidal Wave, I think, really fits well. Wall of Water, you could argue, I would say less of that, but more Tidal Wave or Thunderstep to replace Sleet Storm. Next up, we have Control Water, which I'm gonna agree with the idea of Control Water. It does a lot of things where you can cause a flood that's very destructive-y. You can move, water around. You're on a boat. Again, that whole sailor theme. I think Ice Storm is okay. I'm not crazy about it because, again, I think Tidal Wave does bludgeoning damage and Thunderstep does thunder damage, whereas Sleet Storm does no damage, just causes ice. And then Ice Storm creates bludgeoning and cold damage. So let's see what we had for 4th level spells. Storm Sphere. Now, Storm Sphere does do bludgeoning damage, but it does lightning damage. And again, as someone who worships potentially a god of storms, literally creating a sphere of storms seems like a no-brainer. Also, let's be reminded that our 2nd level ability, Destructive Wrath, works when we deal thunder or lightning damage, and then we can maximize it. And our 6th level ability is whenever we deal lightning damage to a larger, smaller creature, we can push them away. So if we swapped out Thunderstep in here for Sleet Storm, we could potentially maximize the damage of our Thunderstep. Tidal Wave, not so much, but that's okay. Then if we swap out Ice Storm, which is bludgeoning and cold damage, for Storm Sphere, which is bludgeoning and lightning damage, we can, 1, choose to maximize the lightning damage if we want, and 2, if it's a larger, smaller creature, we can knock them 10 feet back. So that works well. And then lastly, we have Destructive Wave, which I'm okay with. I could see why you could make the argument not where you're hitting the ground, but you are dealing radiant and thunder damage, and we have already discussed that thunder damage is something we want to have because it triggers destructive wrath. But I always felt that insect plague really didn't fit. I guess you could make the argument if you're like some sort of god of vengeance, maybe summoning locusts and the insect plague. Sure, but I think had this been released when these spells were out, we wouldn't have had insect plague. We would have had maelstrom. And maelstrom is a swirling mass of water in a 30-foot radius around you. The point must be on the ground or in a body of water until the spell ends. The area is difficult terrain, and any creature that starts its turn, they must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 66 bludgeoning damage and be pulled towards the center. Again, Maelstrom is basically making a whirlpool that sucks people in and deals damage. I think that also fits the idea of the Tempest Cleric as well, so I would just swap out Insect Plague for Maelstrom. So that's it, guys. It wasn't too much. Again, Tempest Cleric is very, very powerful. I'm only doing this because I did get a request to see what I would do if I was going to update Tempest Cleric. If you're interested or curious in this, let me know. Maybe I can go back and update some of the other spells that have domain-type abilities, or, you know, some sort of granted spells, whether it be domain spells, warlock-type spells, oath spells for a paladin. There's a lot of ones I think that, unfortunately, I don't think Wizards of the Coast is going to give us a book in the future. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I sincerely hope that I am, where they give us kind of like we saw with the class feature variant Unearthed Arcana, where they'll give us a book that says, if you want, you can run this by your DM, take a look at the Tempest Cleric spells. If you want, you can swap this 3rd level spell for this 3rd level spell from another manual, another book, if your DM allows you to do so. And that, I think, would be a good thing. We've seen that kind of stuff in previous editions, where stuff that came out in subsequent books would override the previous books. And I don't want to say I want to override it completely, but if you want to give me that as a variant or an option that I can choose to use if I want, then I think that would be a good call. But anyway, folks, let me know what you think in the comments down below about this. I know Tempest Cleric is one of the strongest clerics out there. It's my personal favorite. It was my number 1 on my top 10, or my number 2 on my top 10 subclass video. So I really do enjoy it. Personal opinion, having played one for 17 levels, I would love to swap out 3 of those spells to just get me some new utility that I wouldn't have had, or I may have had that already had this class come out now, not when the Player's Handbook was released. So anyway,